So those who like to join. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. So good evening, everyone.
Okay, you got unmuted.
Okay. I want to be put on the gallery, so I want to be able to see the people, but
And so upper right corner, Bhante, there is a button called View, and then you can choose the second option called Gallery.
but now they can see me in the full screen though, right?
Yes, Bhante.
Okay. Okay, friends, this week I had suggested to re-listen or reread the Sammaditthi Sutta, which is the discourse on right view. So this is a very important discourse. Actually, it was a discourse given by Venerable Sariputra, who was the captain of the Dhamma. And we know that the whole of the Buddha's teaching really revolves around the right view. And it's actually understanding what is wrong view and doing the opposite of wrong view. So no one had sent any questions in based on the Sammaditthi Sutta. There is one question, but it's connected with the 5 aggregates. It's not exactly about from the sutta. But anyway, I'm going to go over and kind of just give a brief summary of the sutta. And so again, the Venerable Sariputra was giving a talk to the group of monks. He was telling them, right view. How is a person of wrong view? Now, those familiar with the Buddha's teachings, the Buddha often, whenever he talked about the right view or right speech or right action, he was actually telling about what is the wrong views, wrong speech, wrong action, and then doing the opposite of what is wrong, he called the right view. So in this sutta, actually, Venerable Sariputta starts out by what is the right view is a person understands what is the unwholesome and what is the root of the unwholesome. And then what is the wholesome and what is the root of the wholesome. And basically this wholesome or unwholesome refers to the 10 unskillful karmic actions. So the 10 unskillful actions, which is the root of all the defilements, basically are they're divided into 3 things we do by the body, 4 things we do by the speech, and 3 things we do by the mind. So the body, speech, and mind is considered to be the 3 doorways through which we create karma. And all our suffering in life revolves around these having been caught up in repeating these 10 unwholesome actions, over many, many lifetimes. And the whole web of our karma is bound up and tied in with these 10 karmic actions, the unwholesome actions. And then to overcome suffering, you purify and overcome those unwholesome actions and replace them with the 10 wholesome actions, which is basically the opposite of the unwholesome action. So this is how Venerable Sariputta starts this discourse. I'm not going to read the whole discourse because we've already gone over it and had recorded it before. But I'm just going to repeat briefly. And if any of you have any questions about any of this, please write them down in the chat box so that we can have some discussion on them. So anyway, just a brief review. The 10 unwholesome karmic actions, the 3 by the body are killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. So these things are done with our body. Of course, the mind is what motivates the bodily actions, but anyway, we do them by the body: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Then the 4 by speech are lying, malicious speech, harsh speech, and gossip or frivolous speech. And then the 3 unwholesome mental activities or mental states are hatred, covetousness, and wrong views. So those 10 are what are called the 10 unskillful karmic actions. And so they're called the unwholesome. And what are the roots of these unwholesome bodily action, speech, and thoughts? They are greed, hatred, and delusion. So greed, hatred, and delusion are considered the roots of all of our negative, the things that we could possibly do with our body, speech, or mind are rooted in one or a combination of all 3 of these unwholesome roots: greed, hatred, and delusion. And so all these 10 unwholesome specific actions has greed, hatred, and delusion as their roots. And the wholesome is basically the opposite of that. Wholesome actions are non-killing, non-stealing, and non-sexual misconduct. So as I already mentioned before, whenever the Buddha talked about the right action, it's basically abstaining from the wrong actions. Although there's also the opposite of the wrong actions you could do. So the opposite of killing would be to protect and cherish life. The opposite of stealing would be practicing giving and generosity. And the practice of sexual misconduct would be developing more inner contentment and respect for others, not to want to abuse or harm others through our greedy, lustful intentions. And of course, that means because we're not really contented in ourselves, we have to take that out onto others. Anyway, so briefly, that's the first section of the Sammaditthi Sutta is about understanding the 10 unwholesome actions and their roots, and understanding the opposite of that, or the 10 wholesome actions. And the roots, the 3 wholesome roots are non-greed, non-hatred, and right views or wisdom. Now, the second part of the right view, and after the Sariputta had explained these the 10 unwholesome actions, somebody said, well, is there another way we can understand what is right view? And then he said, well, yes, there is another way you can understand right view. And then he said, this is understanding nutriments. And what is the cause of nutriments? The cessation of nutriments, and the path leading to the cessation of nutriments. And he couches everything in the 4 noble truths. So, which is the next segment. But the 4 nutriments are physical food, contact, volition, and ego consciousness. And I've given more detailed talks on all of these subjects in the past, so I'm not going to go and repeat them. That's why we've recorded them for posterity, and that people can go back and listen on our YouTube channel and find all of these previous Dhamma talks that I've given on the details of these various subjects. But basically, if you have any questions about these, if you're not sure what they are, you could ask a question, and I'll try to give a brief answer. And then after explaining about the nutriments, understanding nutriments, the origin of nutriments, the cessation of nutriments, and the way leading to the cessation of nutriments. Again, it's all the Eightfold Path. It's couched in understanding suffering, the cause of suffering, the ending of suffering, and the path leading to the ending of suffering. And then the third, then after explaining about the nutriments, then another monk says, well, is there another way you can explain right view? And then that's when he says, yes, the 4 noble truths, understanding suffering, understanding the arising of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. And then even after saying that, somebody else, is there another way we can understand the right view? And this is where Sariputta had great patience. And this is where he goes through the whole 12 links of the dependent origination. And he says, yes, when one understands aging and death, the origin of aging and death, the cessation of origin of aging and death, and the way leading to the cessation of aging and death, that is how one is of right view. And then he somebody asked, is there another way we can understand it? The right view? And then he said, yes, understanding birth, the origin of birth, the cessation of birth, and the way leading to the cessation of birth. And then he goes through the rest of the 12 links of the dependent origination. Understanding becoming, the arising of becoming, the cessation of becoming, the path leading to the cessation of becoming, and all the other grasping, craving, feeling, contact. You should have all that memorized by now, because I've been giving talks on that subject for a long time. Anyway, so basically that is the Sammaditthi Sutta, that understanding. Basically, it's understanding the 4 noble truths, and that same formula that's applied to all the 12 links of the dependent origination. Understanding the thing, understanding how it arises, understanding how it ceases, and understanding the Noble Eightfold Path, or the way to practice. That means to live, think, and meditate, practicing the Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, that brings all of those unskillful actions and greed, hatred, and delusion to an end. And it's that right view, which is a hallmark of becoming a Sotapanna, or entering the stream, is when that you have that glimpse through the development of the practice. You understand, you overcome any doubts about any of those aspects of the right view. Okay, so let's see if there's any question based on that. It looks like there's one chat question here. I don't know. Okay, is understanding any one of those categories that Venerable Sariputta mentioned, in any one bring the right understanding? Yes, but specifically the Four Noble Truths. If any of them would be the main one to understand, it's the third category in the sutra, that understanding the Four Noble Truths. That means understanding what suffering is, how suffering arises, how suffering can cease, that there is an end to suffering, and understanding the path leading to the end of suffering, which is, of course, the Four Noble Truths. So understanding suffering means understanding the three levels of suffering, about the sufferings of the body, sufferings of the mind, and the sufferings of ignorance. And then understanding the causes of that. All the causes come back to greed, hatred, and delusion, especially the craving. And then the cessation of greed, hatred, and delusion is the end of suffering. And the way to reach the end of suffering is through the Noble Eightfold Path. So that would be the main one, because when you understand all of the others, you understand those Four Noble Truths. But I think, as we read in the commentaries, as Venerable Sariputta was explaining this, all the monks, they were loving Venerable Sariputta's explanation and the way he was explaining these things. And they wanted to hear him say more, even though many of those monks were already arahants, and they knew very well. They just they loved to have Dhamma conversations. So, and Venerable Sariputta was one of the greatest exponents of explaining the Dhamma. So they loved to, question Sariputta, especially if some other monks, the arahants, there might have been some younger monks with them, or some training monks who, they wanted him to hear it directly from Venerable Sariputta, how he explained the Dhamma so wonderfully. So, yeah. Okay. This next question is, how important is a belief in karma to having right view? Isn't this hard for I don't see the rest of that question in there.
Isn't this hard for Westerners?
Isn't this hard for Westerners? It depends on how karma is explained. Karma is not difficult. Karma basically, as I mentioned, the simplest explanation or scientific, let's say a scientific correlation of karma would be Newton's law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Or the law of gravity. If you throw something up, it comes down. Now, is that hard for Westerners to understand? They all went to school, right? They believe in that, even though we have no proof, theoretically, maybe you first hear that, but people believe that it's true, or you throw a ball up and you see it comes down. Okay, yeah. Well, if we throw something out of our mouth, that goes out in the world and comes back to us. Try stand in front of Walmart and curse somebody out, somebody who's walking out of Walmart, curse them out and see if there's a reaction. If they come and punch you in the face. Okay, is that a result of your action? What's so difficult to understand about that? And that can be extrapolated and impose on any type of thing. If you flip somebody the finger in America, they may come over and break your finger, or worse. There's a reaction. This is not rocket science. So that's the way people have to keep, the law of karma simple. It's not easy. Anything you do by any of those 10 wholesome actions, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, it's going to come back to you in one way or another. If not immediately, next week, in a month, a year, 10 years. Look at all these skeletons coming out of the closet, especially with politicians. Something they did 20 years ago. Somebody saying, "Oh, you smoked pot 20 years ago," or some lady comes out of the closet and says, "This person did this to me 10, 15 years ago." And, it comes back to you. So anyway, the law of karma is not difficult to understand, especially Westerners who have a learning. So anyway, now rebirth, if you don't have to, usually people think karma means rebirth, okay? It does in a way, but it doesn't have to. This is, seeing things immediately. Ehipasiko, that means seeing the immediate results of our actions doesn't need to wait for our next life. It's immediate. Just go out on that street and do something to somebody and you'll see an immediate reaction. Or just within your own mind. And when you're unmindful, not looking what you're doing, not paying attention, you stumble and fall down and sprain your wrist. Okay, that's the direct result of your unmindful action. So that's karma. Don't make it difficult. Karma is very easy. Okay. So, another question. After enlightenment, is if an arhat performs unwholesome actions like killing, do they accumulate karma? An arhat would not kill, not consciously. Now, if they're walking along the forest and there's some ants underneath the leaves that they can't see, because karma is deliberate action. So to be a truly a karmic action, there has to be the intention behind the action. So, but an arhat would not intentionally commit any of those unwholesome karmic actions. And also they don't accumulate karma because there's no ego in the arhat left. It's because of the will and the I, the sense of I, me, and mine that's behind all of our actions of an ignorant person. That's how we accumulate karma. If you're without ego, they may do things, but it's that karma doesn't give any rise to rebirth. So when you include the idea of karma and the rebirth, it makes it a little bit more complicated, but really the Buddhist teaching is about this life, not the last life or not in the next life. It's about understanding suffering, how we create suffering for ourselves here and now in this life. And there's enough of that to easily understand it. And when you truly understand the mind, then believing in the idea of rebirth is easier to kind of understand. But a lot of people ask, that's a question that they ask a lot, is they say, do we have to believe in rebirth to be a Buddhist? And again, there's two levels of rebirth. There's external rebirth and internal rebirth. And external rebirth is the idea that the mind is reborn from lifetime to lifetime in this the traditional idea of a rebirth. But the subtler internal rebirth, and the one that the Buddha was really talking about, is the moment-to-moment rebirth in our mind and the rebirth of our habits and the continual arising of the sense of self and I, the paticca samuppada, is the sense of I as being strengthened over and over again, every moment, actually. Every time you do a karmic action, the sense of I is strengthened and the karmic formations are strengthened. So actually the paticca samuppada on its deepest level refers to the moment-to-moment revolution of those 12 links. And only the idea of it going over 3 lifetimes, that's what I call external rebirth. But the internal rebirth, without understanding that, you'll never attain enlightenment, because it takes the transcendence of the ego to terminate that process of moment-to-moment rebirth. It's the rebirth of the self-I, not the rebirth of the physical body. It's the rebirth of I again. Every time you do something, I got what I wanted, I won. And so it strengthens the idea of I over and over again. I mean, these are very deep subjects, and it's only, it takes a lot of meditation, a lot of contemplation, and especially attaining the right view, and before one really understands a lot of these deeper aspects of the Dhamma. Okay, that's the last question. Okay, there was one question that was sent in. Now, if anybody has any additional questions, you could continue to write something down in the chat box. Oh, here's one already. Okay. Dennis, we'll try to come back to your question before. Is bad karma limited to physical actions? No. Speech and also your thoughts, even thinking hatred, plotting out to want to harm somebody, that's bad karma in the sense that it's increasing your ill will and hatred. And that's where our external actions of body and speech come from, the mind. The mind is actually more powerful than the body and speech, because it's the mind that causes you to do the unwholesome actions. The body can't do it without the mind telling it to, or the speech. So, and also karma is not only bad karma, it's also good karma. So if you do the opposites of the unwholesome actions, you abstain from killing, lying, cheating, sexual misconduct, you follow the precepts, these are called wholesome actions, or doing the opposites, and that's good karma, and that brings less painful results, but it brings more contentment and happiness, because it's freedom from guilt, worry, remorse, and fear. The results of bad karma is that people's minds are plagued by guilt, worry, remorse, and fear from doing these things that they know they shouldn't have done. And that is the karmic result. Your mind is beating you up for doing these unskillful actions by having guilt, worry, remorse, and fear. But when you practice a good karma, you don't have guilt, worry, remorse, and fear, because you haven't hurt the flight. Each moment, every day, when you observe the precepts, you can go to sleep at night thinking, I haven't hurt the flight, or something like that. But if you told a lie in the day, and then at night, oh my gosh, I told a lie, are they going to find out? I'll lose my job, or whatever, That's why, that's suffering. Okay. So if our unwholesome thoughts, second part of this question, unwholesome thoughts never come to fruition, well, they'll go with you to the next life. So even if you don't get caught for some of your unskillful actions in this life, and you still have these memories in your mind, then that's what's gonna, follow you to the next life. So even though you may not experience a direct result, let's say you killed somebody and no one ever found out about it, or some other types of things, that's going to be in your unconscious mind. And if it hasn't been purified out by attaining enlightenment, then that may well indeed follow you to another life and cause some repercussions there. That's when the idea about rebirth could come into play a more important part. But even in this life, let's say if you kill somebody 10 years ago, or maybe a sexual misconduct, lied, cheated, no one found out, but for 5 or 10 years, you're worrying about somebody maybe finding out, and that is your punishment, that is your suffering. So, that's the idea about the suffering from our actions is very deep. It's not just a simple matter of saying, well, I didn't get caught, something like that. So that's why karma is divided into those 3 levels of body, speech, and mind. So even hatred is an unwholesome, a karmic action if you keep on filling your mind with hatred, because it's going to, at some point, come to fruition in some kind of action. And if not in this life, it could be carried over to the next life. And the same with covetousness and the wrong views. Okay. It says, I'm doing everything short of directly killing living beings, spraying insecticides around the house, every entrance. Are these accumulating unwholesome karma? Well, again, karma, even the Buddha said that trying to understand all the subtle nuances of karma, that's one of what he called the unfathomable answers, that you're never going to find an answer about it unless you become somebody like the Buddha. Because with our ordinary mind, it's almost impossible to be able to fathom all the deepest nuances of things like karma. So we should understand it as a general rule. And there could be some consequences. Like, okay, for example, here at the meditation center, we had a mouse problem. So some people wanted to put out mouse traps. And they put out a couple. And then there was, they caught the bloody mouse, and I didn't, we don't like to look at seeing a dead mouse in a trap. So I stopped. So, we got rid of all those. We got a cat. Now we have Mita the cat. She's our mouse trap. But she doesn't trap mice, she just scares them away. And so since we got the cat, the mice didn't come anymore. So, there's ways to get around some of our, actions. And of course, you have to feed the cat, you have to take care of the cat and so on. But it's probably a more enjoyable thing than dealing with the mouse traps and poison and other things like that. So, but yeah, the reality of life is that, if you own a house, you might have to spray for termites and do things like that. And, but, the karmic result would be probably minimal than as if you killed a human being. And even the Buddha himself has said this, there's different gradations of karma. And killing a human being or even killing a Buddha or an Arhat is worse than killing an ordinary human being. And then killing an animal is less karmically reprehensible than killing a human being. As you go down the size of the animal chain, down to the smallest little insect, then the result would probably be negligible. Because it's connected with the memory, and the amount of memory that's in your mind. Now, if you kill a human being, as opposed to killing a cockroach, you're going to be thinking about killing that human being much more than having killed a cockroach the time you die. And it's that the strength of the memory and the imprint in the unconscious mind that carries over to the next life is really what is going to be the determining factor in how that is going to manifest in the next life, or even in this life itself. Again, forget about the next life, even in this life. Let's say if you kill somebody, 10 years ago, you're going to be thinking about it every day because you're going to be seeing that person's face or whatever. But if you kill a cockroach or even kill a smaller animal, you're probably not going to think about it too much. So that's how that works. Now, I know some of this may sound, like, well, people, of course, can argue about a lot of things. But that's where, but basically it's about understanding the general principle about the karma. Okay. See, from no questions, now we've got a whole bunch of questions.
Bhante, I had put a question. I don't know if you can see it.
It's the one coming after this one. So this question is, what are the ramifications, karma, for someone intentionally trying to change the right view of others? Well, people don't like to be told what to do. And it depends on the person, and if you, try to, preach to them, Dharma, and they don't want to listen, they might get angry at you, or they might, go away, or they might not like it. So you have to do that very skillfully when you're explaining things to people. And you have to, there's the right time to say everything and the wrong time to say things too. Even the Buddha said that. Even if you have a wholesome thought, to maybe try to get somebody to understand the Dhamma, there's the right time for that. And if that person's not in a receptive mood, that's not the right time to teach them Dhamma. And so a lot of things have to be taken into account. But if our intention is skillful, that we won't try to help others by maybe giving, you should read this book on the Dhamma, and if they're receptive and they do and they like it, they do it, that's good. But if they don't, if they're really, if they're really addicted to the right views, you have to be careful with doing it. This next question, would you say getting together with friends falls under frivolous speech? Well, if they're talking about frivolous speech, it might. I mean, you could hear them talking. You don't have to join into their frivolous speech. You can just have patience and compassion for them. And, if you're their friends, and, you can sit there and just try to not at least get dragged too much into it yourself if you can avoid it. But frivolous speech is probably one of is certainly less karmically reprehensible than, lying or harsh speech, or, spreading malicious rumors about other people and so on. But it would depend on what sort of frivolous speech that is. Some of frivolous speech is very kind of, innocent, and others could be more, it's again, it's the effect on your mind. Does it cause you to be more stupid? Then it's unwholesome. But there's so many different degrees and variations of, all of our various types of thought, speech, and actions. Okay, so I think that comes to the end of those questions. And thank you for submitting them. I don't know if I could answer your questions entirely to your satisfaction, but understand, again, this is very deep subjects, and it only comes with a lot of meditation when you start to understand, the importance of all the things that you hear or read about in the study of the teachings. Okay, so there's one more question that somebody sent in to me. It comes back to our, the 5 aggregates. I mean, we can't get away from these 5 aggregates. So we've been discussing those in the last few weeks. There was lots of questions about the 5 aggregates, because really that's all that we have. Anything we experience in life is one of those 5 aggregates. So this is in reference to the 4th aggregate, or volition. So I think everyone knows the 5 aggregates, but basically, again, they're the material forms. I like to call them the vibrations, because it's the vibrations that coming through our senses, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, when you see external objects, but actually they're vibrations coming through our nervous system, visible vibration, sound vibration, odor vibration. And then the mind interprets these vibrations and matches them up with calling them this and that particular objects. And then the feelings that are aroused by these material forms, and then the memories that are aroused by them, the perceptions, and the volition, the actions that we take based on it. And then there's the consciousness itself. And basically that means the I consciousness, the sense of it's I, me, or mine, that's doing and hearing and smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. So the question is, can you have volition without interference by the 5th aggregate? I would have to say this question could be both yes and no. Only an arahant could have a volition without the sense of I, me, or mine. But that volition would not be a karmic volition. It wouldn't actually create karma. The volitions of an arahant are called inoperable volitions, or neutral volitions. They don't create good or bad actions, because there's no good or bad ill will attachment connected to them for an arahant, only an arahant. For everybody else, for the anagami, there wouldn't be too much, but for the ordinary persons, no, the consciousness, because it's the I that does things. It's the I that's killing, cheating, stealing, sexual misconduct, talking, doing all these things. It's motivated by the I. I want to do it, or I'm not going to do it. So the I is always there for anybody who's unenlightened. So that's the short and simple answer. Okay, so that comes to the end of our questions and answers. And so now we're going to take a short break and either use the restroom if you need to, or take a drink of water, or simply to stand up, stretch your legs. And then we're going to come back in a couple minutes to do a few yoga stretches, and then we'll have our meditation practice. Okay? We'll see you back here in a few minutes. Sean, can you put my picture onto the full screen so I can see? I want this mat to be able to see at the edge of the picture. I can't see it.
But yeah, you have to change to the view to the speaker view. Is the view.
Oh, I see. All right. Okay, friends, stand straight, relax your arms at the sides. Gently close your eyes. Just feel your feet pressing the floor. Try to feel the height and weight of the body over the feet. Then begin some deep, slow breathing, drawing the air from the lower lung up through the middle to the top of the lungs and chest. Hold the air in the lungs for 2 or 3 seconds. Then slowly breathe out. Try to feel the last bit of air go out of the lung. Take a few more deep breaths like that, cultivating this mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Okay, now we'll begin the movements, coordinating the movements with that same deep, slow breathing. So on the next in-breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms. Stretch the head back. On the out breath, turn the palms down, touch the top of the head. Again, in breath, palms up, straighten the arms. Out. Third time, hold that upward stretch longer. Bend back a little bit. And release the fingers, the out breath, arms back to the sides. Just close the eyes, relax. Feel the body, especially feel the hands and fingers, increased sensation, pulsations in the hands or fingers. If you can't feel that, feel the feet pressing the floor. Just try to feel the outline of the standing body. Remember standing. Letting go of your thoughts. On the next in breath, push up on the toes while raising the arms over the head in this way, facing the hands toward each other and stretch. Out breath, come back down. Use the in breath to help lift up the body. In. Stretch. Out. In. Out. Relax. Close the eyes. Feel subtle vibrations in the increased life force vibration. You can't feel that. Feel clothing touches the skin. Just remember standing. Standing. Here and now, the body. Letting go of thought. Let the thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Keep the sensations of the body in the front of the awareness. Okay, next we'll do side bending. On an in-breath, raise both arms up. You keep your fingers and arms straight, close to the head. On the out-breath, bend over the right side, or as you comfortably can. Keep the fingers and arms parallel to each other, like railroad tracks. In-breath, lift up. Next out-breath to the other side. In-breath up. Just keep alternating sides, out-breath to the right. Out-breath lift. Out-breath right. The out-breath, lower the arms. Relax. Okay, now spread the legs and feet apart, at least 3 feet, wider the better. Place the hands together at the chest. In breath, hands over the head. Out breath, lower the hands to the chest and bend the knees and lower the body down and keep the back upright. Feel the stretch in the knees and hips. In breath all the way up. Out. In. out. The out breath. Relax. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Remember standing, standing. And we'll do the twisting from right to left, holding the arms out. Breathe in. On the out breath, twist to the right. Keep your eyes focused on the hand going back. In breath, come back to the front. Let your feet turn with the body, and then go to the other side. In breath, front. Just keep repeating that. Out breath to the right. In breath, front. Once more to each side. Relax. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Your arms and hands at the side. The head balanced on top. Feel the eyes and the socket. Feel the whole outline of the body exactly as it is, here and now. And try to spread the legs a little bit more apart. We'll do the forward and backward bending. Be careful with the back bend. Don't bend back too far the first time. Stretch the front of the leg. In breath. On the out breath, bend forward. Let the hands slide down to your knees. Keep the head up, looking out straight ahead. Try to flatten the spine, the back, keeping the legs straight. In breath, lift up. Move the hands under the buttocks for support. Let the head go back. The out breath, gently bend backwards. Keep the eyes open. In breath, carefully lift up. And again, out breath forward. Let the hands come down below the knees. We'll keep the head up, legs straight. Feel the stretch in the back of the leg. In breath, lift up. Once again, the back bend, out breath. In breath, lift up. And the third time, let the hands come down as far as you can toward the feet. Then hold that position longer, feeling the stretch in the back of the leg. In breath, lift up. Once more, the back bend. Be careful. In breath, lift up. The out breath, just relax. Feel the whole body vibrating, pulsating. Now bring the legs and feet closer together. Do one last exercise, the head turning from right to left. And standing straight. On the in-breath, turn the head to the right. And look over your right shoulder. Turn your eyes to the right. Look further back. In-breath. Turning all the way back to the left. And look over the left shoulder. In-breath back to the right. Concentrate into the neck vertebrae. Imagine the feeling of loosening up. Out breath back to the left. In breath. Out. The next in breath, let the head stop in the center. Feel the whole body. Subtle inner vibration. Feel the clothing touching the outside of the body. Feel the other inner sensation. The inner body. The outer body. You're aware of that consciousness that's aware of the body. Okay, so come back to our seats, get ready for the sitting awareness. Okay, friends, let's try to sit straight. Align the back, your back and the back of the head in a straight line. And establish the natural inward curve of the lower lumbar spine. Gently close the eyes. And move the attention down to feel the weight of the body pressing the floor. Try to feel where your buttocks press the seat. Feel that sensation of solidness, contact, earth vibration. Mentally feel the way the legs are bent, the knees are bent, and the feet underneath. Feel where the feet are crossed, where the feet press the floor. Feel the toes. Just mentally remember sitting, sitting. Body is sitting now. Feel all those sensations. The buttocks and feet. And now shift the attention to feel your hands and fingers, where they touch the body or where they touch together. Try to feel the outline, the thumbs and fingers. Feel the subtle pulsation. Just remember sitting, sitting, and feel the weight of the arms hanging from the shoulders. Relax the shoulders. Feel where the clothing touches the skin of the shoulders, the arms, chest. And just remember sitting, sitting. Don't let the mind wander in thoughts. Body's always sitting. Just remember. Now feel the head balanced on top of the neck. And keep your chin lifted up level, parallel to the floor. And feel your lips touching together. Many little sensations on the lip. The feeling of dryness or moistness. Even try to feel the tongue in the mouth. Where the tongue may touch your teeth. And feel the nose. And the skin stretched over the front of the face. Now rest the attention on the eyes. Feel the eyes in the socket. And the eyelids stretched over the eyeball. Try to feel the subtle eye movement. Relax the eyes. From the point behind the eyes, let the awareness expand. Feel the rest of the body. Feel the head, shoulders, arms, hands. Buttocks pressing the seat, the legs, and the feet underneath. Just in a general way, not any details for the outline or silhouette of the sitting body. Just remember sitting, sitting. Now begin some deep, slow breathing as we did in the yoga exercise. Take a few seconds to expand the abdomen, rib cage, and upper chest. Holding the air in the lungs, 2 to 3 seconds. Feel the pause. And feel the relaxing contractions of the out breath. Feel the last bit of air go out of the lung. Just take a few more breaths like that, cultivating this mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to count the breaths from 1 to 10, try to develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing. Try to continue deep, slow breathing if you can. Now the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Feel the brief pause. With the contracting out breath, also count to 1. Feeling the last bit of air go out of the lung. And the next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In breath, 3. Out breath, 3. In 4. out 4, in 5, out 5, in 6, out 6, in 7, out 7, in 8, out 8, in 9, out 9, in 10, out 10. Now discontinue the counting. Let your breathing return to its shorter, uncontrolled, irregular rhythm. And continue to feel it, follow the movement. Keep the attention focused in the center of the body, the movements of the abdomen, rib cage, and chest. Make that the primary focus of your concentration. Just knowing when the breath is coming in and knowing when the breath is going out. Know it by feeling it, feeling the sensations of expanding and contracting. Try to feel like you're a scientist sitting in the laboratory. This body is the laboratory for the meditator. Looking down through the microscope of concentrated awareness. Feel the breathing process. Turn up the power of the mental microscope. Bring it into clear focus. The whole in-breath from beginning to end, and the brief pause. The whole out-breath from beginning to end, and the brief pause. over and over and over again. Just letting go of the thoughts. Just let your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Just keeping the breathing process in the front of the awareness. Use these brief mental reminders. Just in, sitting. Out, sitting. Just breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Just remember that much. It's not much to remember. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Those brief pauses between the breaths. You feel the outline of the sitting posture. This breathing process is going on within this larger sitting body. Just notice how each breath is different. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Sometimes you feel it more in the abdomen, sometimes you feel it more in the rib cage or chest. It's always changing. Be alert for thoughts sneaking into the mind to steal your attention away. You get caught up in thoughts, recognize it as thinking. Let go of the thought. Take a deep breath, coming back to the breathing body, back to breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting, breath by breath, moment by moment. Keep turning up the power of the mental microscope. Notice more detail, the subtle sensation. The breathing process. Being aware of other subtle sensations coming and going around or through that breathing awareness. Or if there's any aches or pains arising. Be aware of other sensations coming and going in the background. Keeping the breathing process in the front of the awareness. If there's too many thoughts, or if the mind is feeling drowsy, come back and do some deep, slow breathing, help reoxygenate the bloodstream, to help stay awake, centered in the body. You catch yourself totally lost in thoughts, recognize it as lost. Find the body sitting on the floor. Take a deep, slow breath. Bring the mind back into the body. Back to breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Sensations come and go. Sounds come and go. Pleasure or pain come and go. Thoughts or emotions, urges come and go. Thoughts of I, me, or mine come and go. These are all just a continuous flow of the 5 aggregates, impermanent, coming and going, the body-mind awareness. In the present moment, awareness grounded in the body. This breathing body is the lifeline, the life preserver, the anchor to the present moment. Represented by the breathing body. If we lose that connection, the breathing body, the present moment, and the mind gets easily dragged away to past and future neurotic thinking, the worry, fear, anxiety, greed, or hatred. The 3 roots of greed, hatred, and delusion. Cultivate this breathing body as the anchor, lifeline to the present moment. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. The mind is calm enough, recognize five aggregates, and you become, take your attention. This is material form, this is feeling, this is perception, this is volition or wanting. This is a thought of I, me, or mine. Ego consciousness. It's constantly changing. The Buddha advises to regard all of these five aggregates as this is not me, this is not mine, this is not myself. This conditioned phenomenon arising and passing away under the power or the force of the past accumulated habits, karmic habits of body, speech, and thought. That is the right view. What feelings or thoughts arise based on that sound vibration? Sabbi sankhara anicchati yada panyaya pasati atanibindati dukkhi Yesamango visuddhiya dukkapata ca nidukkha bhayapata ca nibbaya sokapata ca nisoka Untu sabbe pipanino. All conditioned things, the five aggregates of this body, mind, and world are impermanent. They arise only to vanish and pass away. When one understands this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity, to freedom. That's the right view. And may the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. In this way, may all beings live with mindfulness and wisdom. Thus spoke the Buddha. Now I invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu 3 times slowly. We do that chanting on a long out breath. Take a deep in breath. Sadhu. 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 Now place the hands at the edge of your knees. And take one more deep breath as you breathe in. Stretch the head back and arch your lower spine. And lift the head up, and on an out breath, press the chin to the top of the chest. Stretch the neck vertebra. Lift the chin up level on an in-breath. And relax on the out breath. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends. So this brings our Wednesday evening Dhamma discussion, meditation to an end. And try to reflect during this next week on aspects of the right view, especially being aware of, when suffering arises, recognizing, this is the suffering. What is the cause of this suffering? Some result of your past actions of body, speech, or mind. Just the nature of having a body and being in the world. And reflecting on the Noble Eightfold Path, how to gradually unravel all these intricate, thorny knots of karma that we've accumulated over many lifetimes. Developing the Noble Eightfold Path leading to the end of suffering. And don't forget, mindfulness a day keeps dukkha away. Okay, till next week. Be well and happy. Be safe. Be mindful.
Thank you, Bhante, for everything. Thank you.
Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhante.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Thank you, Bhante.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Prashant.